Don't blame rear stakes that bleed when stabbed with a fork, or head-first tackles on the 10-yard line, for inspiring the term red-blooded American. No, to understand the meaning of the phrase, you need to look at the elites. The blue bloods, the civilized folk, who ride on a cushion of privilege, and think they're all the better for it. Especially when they roll down rodeo drive in Ferraris and Porsches, experiencing the finer things in life like perfectly tuned chassis, and bedroom eyes from attractive people. Some are simply born into it, and others aren't so lucky. But for the unlucky, Chevrolet has been toiling for over 66 years to bring them a machine that can do everything those expensive European exotics can do for a fraction of the price. Thing is, those 6+ decades of sweat have led the current Corvette to reach the absolute limit of what a front-engine rear-wheel drive platform can handle. Soon enough, the Corvette won't be able to compete with what those fancy mid-engine supercars can do. So of course, Chevy had to find a way to change that. In the past, the high cost of a mid-engine platform and the Corvette's need to stay affordable prohibited the two attributes from ever coming together. But through ingenious problem solving and a little bit of magic, Chevy has finally figured out how to usher in the era of the inexpensive mid-engine platform. And the 2020 Corvette Stingray is our first step into that arena. While the rear end still boasts quad tailpipes, the set is split in two, and each half is placed on either end of the car. Similar to how the C7 housed the buttons to open its doors on each door panels in a nook, the C8 also places them inside of the air scoop that begins at the car's shoulder, just to keep the car streamlined. And like the C7 coupe, the C8 features a removable hardtop that fits inside the rear trunk. But unlike the C7, opening the C8's trunk also reveals the engine sitting in plain sight, just so owners get frequent viewing opportunities, while the top of the hood doubles as a home for the Stingray logo and an available rear spoiler that comes with the optional Z51 performance package. Following the spirit of the exterior, the C8's cabin is an evolution of the current design that simultaneously tears up the rulebook. New is the squared-off twin-spoke steering wheel that leaves enough open space to see the 12-inch digital gauge cluster and enlarged touchscreen infotainment display that cuts into space usually reserved for a gear selector and a long thin strip of buttons that houses the climate control functions. Given that the C8 will also be available in right-hand drive for foreign markets, that strip is likely there to make switching the control panels an easier process. While the cabin itself is packaged better to open up more room, occupants actually feel less cramped given how the hood slopes downwards, lending a better view of the road and better visibility in the cockpit. Chevy also integrated the air vents into the seamway at the top and bottom of the dashboard joint, creating a cleaner look. Okay, so about that whole targeting Porsche thing. Let's just lay down the raw facts. The Corvette does get a new engine, which it calls the LT2, but it maintains its 6.2 litres natural aspiration, take the downsizing, and V8 configuration. And that's pretty much it. Aside from that, the engine has been reworked to make 495 horsepower and 470 pounds-to-foot of torque when equipped with performance exhaust, which is the most power and torque ever offered in a base Corvette. Power is sent to the rear wheels through an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission controlled by paddle shifters, with the manual being stricken from the Corvette lineup until further notice. A dry sump lubrication system allows the mid-engine coupe to corner better since, without a bulky oil pan, the engine can be placed lower in the car, lowering center of gravity, and doesn't suffer from the loss of oil pressure during a high-speed corner. But cornering is hardly the only priority, since the C8's launch control is capable of taking the car to 60 miles per hour from a dead stop in under 3.0 seconds, with the Z51 performance package. That option is a must for anyone with a serious desire to thrash the Vetta, as it swaps out the suspension for a performance-optimized system, adds larger brake rotors, beefs up the cooling system, and adds a performance exhaust system to let the engine roar. Underneath the mid-mounted hood is hardly where the good stuff ends, because Chevy decided to use the tech that underpins today's hottest exotics to make the C8 both a better performance car and daily driver. Catering to the latter need is a new front suspension lift mechanism that raises the front bumper by 40 mm in 2.8 seconds, so the C8 can better clear road bumps. Better yet, the system can work with the GPS to lift the car automatically when approaching an area where a driver has set it to rise, such as their own steep driveway. Drivers are also sure to love Z mode, a reprogrammable button on the steering wheel that calls up an owner's favorite custom drive modes when pressed. Speaking of drive modes, C8 owners can expect to once again see whether touring, sport, and track modes carry over from the C7 to the C8. And as fun as drive modes are, they aren't as cool as the rear roof-mounted camera that displays what it's seeing on the rear view mirror, or the HD cameras that make up the Vetta's performance data recorder. The key difference that has always separated the Corvette from the rest of the sports and supercars out there is that it's relatively affordable. That tradition hasn't been broken here, even when it's a real-life mid-engine car that can hit 60 miles per hour in less than 3.0 seconds. No, instead of ripping customers' eyes out, Chevy wanted the C8 to be a dream car that's actually attainable, which is why a base model will start out at less than $60,000. While Chevy has yet to release official pricing information, it's so far given us that promise to sit on. If you want to take Chevy up on its word, be aware that it's already possible to pre-order the 2020 Corvette online.